Welcome everyone to another video of Vinyl Addict. This is Chili and this is The Doors' Soft Parade. It is an underrated album by a popular band. That's what I believe. Now before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you will receive updates on new videos. Okay, so with that out of the way, this album by The Doors is my favorite, and it's pretty much not a lot of people's favorites. I like it a lot because it's in the middle of their catalog. This is the fourth album, and it seems a very standalone-ish album. The first three, they just pretty much from The Doors' Strange Days to Waiting for the Sun, they skyrocketed to superstardom. That last album, the album prior to this, was the most commercial album with the number one hit, Hello, I Love You. And then this comes out, and then it's sort of its own little world. And then you got the next two, which is considered the comeback albums, Morrison Hotel, LA Woman, and they are kind of both sounding the same because it's sort of like a back to basics kind of harder rock blues thing going. But in between that, you got this, and it's been accused of being chasing commercial pop kind of trying to be popular in the sense where it's weird because the first three albums were all popular. Like they're really just trying to make hits. And listening to this, I don't believe so. It's very experimental, and with this collection, you finally get the whole story. With this book, there's some readings here, like the recorded history of Soft Parade and why they took these approaches, bringing in horn sections and orchestrations into their music. And it was because they wanted to be more experimental. And however, there's other bands that were very experimental, big bands like the Beatles with the White Album, Jimi Hendrix doing Electric Ladyland and whatnot. And with the Doors, they weren't just a rock band. They had members like Ray Manzarek and John Densmore, who were kind of like seasoned musicians. They were kind of classically trained. I mean, they were into jazz, and so they were kind of blending those kinds of styles into their music. So where would artists, musicians like that, how do they go on a path of experimentation? Other than like a three-chord rock band who started off playing She Loves You, transcending to, Sgt. Pepper and utilizing the studio and things like that to really change their sound. So for them, they had to look for different ways to expand and be quote-unquote experimental. And I don't feel it was, there were some certain things that they were doing on this album, yes, which they haven't done before, or they did do before, like the title song, The Soft Parade, which is an 8.5 minute epic song, which goes through like 4 different songs. It's a concept, just sort of like the celebration of the lizard from the album prior. Now it is a long epic song, and it starts off with a poem, the petition the Lord with prayer. That's what it is, yeah. And the thing is, it's just like it's one of these epic songs that really isn't name checked as much as the end or when the music's over, or like I said, the celebration of the lizard. And it does have like a very funk kind of groove to it, so they are kind of going into different rhythms, and that was interesting, I felt, you know. And one other thing about this album, which I discovered, was that it is more so a Robbie Krieger album. And there are songs that are written by Jim Morrison, words and music. However, Robbie's all over it. Okay, so you start off with track one, Tell All the People. That's words and music by Robbie Krieger. Shaman Blues, of course, that's Jim Morrison, words and music. Do It is Krieger and Morrison. So they're now starting to get into like a Page Plant kind of thing, a Jagger Richards kind of thing, because the first three albums just said music by the Doors, Jim Morrison, lyrics, right? But now things are changing here. Morrison felt that Robbie wasn't getting a lot of attention or credit for what he does in the band, and so this is pretty much Robbie taking, control. But at the same time, Jim is really going through his alcoholism on this period, and so yes, Robbie is kind of picking up the ball and going with it. However, you still have songs like Words and Music by Morrison for Easy Ride, and Wild Child, of course. Running Blue by Robbie Krieger, words and music, which is about Otis Redding, which is one of my favorite songs here. Wishful Sinful, words and music by Robbie Krieger, and of course the Soft Parade is all Jim Morrison. Now Wishful Sinful is a single on this album as well, and it was kind of reminiscent to the Crystal Ship. And it's interesting because I feel like Robbie Krieger is now kind of writing songs, it seems like, with Jim in mind. And I think he did that with Light My Fire, because everyone thought that was a Jim Morrison thing, but of course it was a Robbie Krieger composition, and he felt like when writing lyrics, what would sound authentic or something that Jim would say. And Wishful Sinful, it seems like something Jim would write. I was very surprised to see a lot of the songs here written by Robbie Krieger, especially the lyrics. And Touch Me, of course, that's if that is a blatant way of trying to make a pop song, you know what? They did it very well. And there's one thing, like, when people talk about the word popular or pop music, like it's automatically bad. But if you're coming from a place like the Doors, where they're all about art, they could actually change the charts so it doesn't seem so bland. And so when they make pop songs, it's fucking great, So Touch Me is an awesome song. Now they include in this collection here these 3 CDs. So one is the album, of course, remastered, and there's the vinyl of that. However, they also include Who Scared You in the album now. And that is a great song. There's a lot of these B-sides on here are really interesting. I Am Troubled is a Morrison kind of a poem. And they go through Seminary School, to Petition the Lord with Prayer. They go through it a few times. There are some recordings on here without the horn section and without the orchestration, so they just kind of give you this raw mix of the Doors, sort of just like Let It Be Naked. If you remember the Beatles they removed the Phil Spector kind of orchestrations and stuff like that, so you just hear the band and hear the songs, and they're pretty interesting. However, I can't unhear all that stuff, you know what I mean? It does sound kind of like something's missing, but at the same time there's versions here like Touch Me, which has a Robbie Krieger overdub on here. So instead of the saxophone solo on Touch Me played by Curtis Amy, you're getting this new guitar solo, which is really cool. And there are some things on here that even they brought in Robert DeLeo from STP, Stone Temple Pilots, to like play some bass lines on. So they're kind of taking these older things and kind of refreshing it, going through it, whatnot. And they did want to just hear how the song sounded without all that stuff. Like tell all the people with the horn section and everything. I thought it was a great opening song with that new sound and everything. And when I hear it without it, without the horns, it doesn't really for me it doesn't really sound strong. It sounds like there's something missing, because it's so grand. It's so like the horns and everything, and Morrison is this kind of like tour guide, or he's just like telling this story, and it's larger than life with all the horns and everything, and it's kind of missing if you don't hear it that way. Now, one of the songs on here included is "Rock Is Dead," and it's the complete version, and it's 64 minutes, and it's on the second disc. And what is "Rock Is Dead"? That is this song that they're kind of it's been released in certain bits and pieces here in different compilations. It'll be like 10 minutes on this box set, or but here you get the whole thing. And what it is exactly is not necessarily a song, but it's just a session. They love to just press record and let the Doors do whatever they do. And on this one occasion, it's the Doors going through like Elvis Presley songs, in the beginning, and some of their stuff, unreleased stuff, and they're doing "Love Me Tender," "Mystery Train," and then it goes into all these different directions. Even they even hark back to the "Break On Through." You hear John Densmore go through that beat, but then they start doing other things along on top of it, and Jim is going on and ranting about how rock is dead when he's gone, because he is rock. He is, he is the movement. And one other thing is that what he's saying in this song will later on be said and used on the Miami show during his rant, which is depicted in the film. And so some of those things that he's saying, like, I'm not talking about no revolution, and that's from "Rock Is Dead." And so that was cool that they put that in the film. But another good thing about what Oliver Stone did, because the Doors let him listen to all kinds of things about, recordings and sessions and whatnot, and hearing the "Rock Is Dead" portion of all their recordings and everything. There's a part in the film where they're recording the Soft Parade, and Jim is intoxicated, and he picks up a television and throws it at Ray Manzarek, and because he's pissed off because they sold "Light My Fire" to a commercial, and he starts going on about, let's not do this anymore. Let's do a sing along. Let's do "Rock Is Dead," right? And that's what he's talking about right here. So I thought it was really cool. Now thinking about it, looking back at it, like, oh, that's cool. He's talking about "Rock Is Dead." He's talking about this song, and then later on, like I said in the film, he'll start spouting off "Rock Is Dead" poetry or things that he was saying in the studio to the audience of Miami. So, really good stuff. If you're really into the Doors and you look for these little kind of Easter eggs and stuff like that, it's really cool. So, kudos to Oliver Stone for like being a fan and kind of throwing that in this film. That film has been attacked by a lot of people, especially The Witch, in the movie, and for kind of him taking creative license and doing some of the things that he did. But however, it's entertainment. But when it comes to the music and everything, he did. I thought Oliver Stone was really great in taking the music and the art and really kind of putting it in subliminal areas. And if you weren't a fan of the Doors, you know, just it seemed like he's saying, "Let's do Rock is Dead," like, you know, it just sounded like he's some drunk buffoon, but you know, no, he's talking about this song or this session. So that is my underrated album by a popular band, The Doors. What are your thoughts on this album? Was this the album that you said, okay, I like the song Touch Me, I remember that, that's a catchy tune, but some of the other stuff I could do without. I think Wild Child is great. And again, listen to the Soft Parade, that 8-minute song. Awesome. And with that, I'll shut up and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.